Championship Sunday is officially set in the NFL. It's the Bills versus the Chiefs. It's the Commanders versus the Eagles. Those four teams advancing from the divisional round of playoffs. Takeaways from the divisional round. And what is the 49ers fans' rooting interests in these last four teams? I think there's a couple of pretty simple ones in there. And what to take away from a 49ers perspective from the divisional round of the playoffs. All that and more coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker with you at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love all the everydayers out there and appreciate the new listeners as well. Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you're watching us on the live stream on YouTube. Let us know you're here and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast, because we are everywhere every single day for you here on Locked On 49ers and the rest of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase Locked On NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Let's work backwards, because we got to start with the Bills and the Ravens. It is the Buffalo Bills that advance over the Ravens 27-25 Sunday. And I feel bad for Mark Andrews, because look, it's his own doing. Nobody's perfect, right? The trending topic right now, just before we go live, I put a tweet out that we're going live with the Sunday night pod here, as we do even through the season, and we're doing it when the 49ers aren't playing here in the offseason, or offseason for us. It's still going for some teams out there and some fans, and those teams dwindling, cut in half today or this weekend. The trending topic right now on Twitter, Croc, is all caps, he dropped it. And that was Mark Andrews dropped the potential game-tying 2-point conversion. Look, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills were still going to get the ball back, and all they had to do was get a certain distance down the field to try to kick a field goal. So it's not like that game was for sure going into overtime if he caught that ball. And it's not all on Mark Andrews, but two really big ones from Mark Andrews, a couple of turnovers from Lamar Jackson as well. And that was the story in this football game. And this was obviously the marquee matchup. They put it last for a reason. I'm glad they did. It was the best game of the weekend. It was the game I was most excited to watch this weekend. And watching Lamar versus Josh Allen, a little snow game, which is fun. So it wasn't like these guys were just slinging the rock all over the place. But there were some plays made by the two star quarterbacks as well. And really, Lamar made a ton of plays. But in the end, they shot themselves in the foot. And it's going to be the Buffalo Bills advancing to play the Kansas City Chiefs.
You know, we talk a lot about situational football, and I think situationally right now, refs are helping just a little bit, but Kansas City Chiefs, they're just light years ahead of everyone with just the timely manner in which they make plays and the way they just really go about everything. It just results in W's, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, when they need to play. And watching the Baltimore Ravens game, there were definitely things that happened early on that did not help them, right? You had the overthrow on the corner route, ended up being an interception. Lamar Jackson fumbled a little bit later in the first half. They really dug themselves in a hole. And I wanted to see how he was going to respond. I wanted to see how Derrick Henry was going to respond after having a slow first half. And I thought not just them, but Baltimore Ravens defense, everybody kind of came alive. It was a part of this comeback. And unfortunately for them, listen, I'm the king of, hey, man, you just got to figure it out, right? Like, you got to figure out a way to win football games, even when things aren't as ideal. And they were trying to figure that out. And Garrett, I keep calling him Garrett Andrews. I played with someone named Garrett Andrews. But Mark Andrews, you can't have those plays in the clutch, in the manner in which he did. First of all, he catches the ball and starts running around like he's Dante Hall. Andrews, you are the guy. Get upfield right now. Catch the ball, knife upfield, pick up another 3 yards, 2 yards, whatever, tackle. All right, you're good. Why are you running around as if you're going to make everybody miss and pick up that much more yards? That's just not going to happen. So he was tripping there and fumbled, and that kind of dug them in a little bit of a hole. And then Lamar said, it's fine. I'm going to put the team on my back. We're going to drive all the way down the field. boom, boom, boom. He's hitting throws. He's making plays. They get all the way down the field. He's throwing. I mean, who are his receivers in this game, especially in the second half? Tylan Wallace and I don't even know who else. I guess Likely Isaiah Likely. I like him. He's a good tight end.
You got the two-headed monster. You got Andrews and Likely at tight end. You got Rashad Bateman had the touchdown.
Bateman.
Yeah, Rashad
Bateman got hurt.
Yeah,
so he left the game. So like on that last drive, he's putting it together with Andrews and Wallace. And there was like one other guy that we haven't really heard a lot about. Either way, Garrett, I keep calling him Garrett, my bad, y'all. Mark Andrews did his best to make sure that Baltimore just did not win this game. And I will say that the 2-point conversion throw, it could have been better. He could have made it easier. But at the end of the day, hey, I'm throwing this. I just catch the ball. And he dropped it. My jaw literally dropped. It hit the floor, and I could not believe it.
There are times Justice Hill looks like, and I guess it's just because when you go from Derrick Henry to Hill, it's just like he looks like he's shot out of a cannon sometimes. And he had 8.3 yards per carry in this game. Like Baltimore was able to run the football. Derrick Henry had a rough go early and then started to get it going. And it looked like, oh man, this is going downhill. And even with some early turnovers, the Ravens are going to pull this off in the second half. And the Bills stiffened up. They made some big plays as well. And, you might say, oh, Andrews fumbled, like he screwed it up, or Lamar Jackson fumbled, he screwed up. Well, the Bills forced those plays to happen too. So they had to make a play. They had to scoop the ball. They had to knock the ball out. They were trying to knock the ball out again on that last drive for the Baltimore Ravens. Like that was clearly something that they were working on and trying to do. And so you got to give credit. It wasn't just that and I think we'll see a lot of this, that the Baltimore Ravens gave the game away. They lost it and the Buffalo Bills didn't win it. I would probably push back on that a little bit, even though clearly there were some big mistakes that led to the loss for the Baltimore Ravens, and obviously amplified there on the last 2-point play. But look, Josh Allen and the Bills were going to have the ball again, minute and a half, couple timeouts. I mean, that's better than 50% chance they go and kick a field goal this day and age in the NFL with a superstar quarterback. So that there was no guarantee they were going to overtime if Mark Andrews catches that ball either.
Right. And I always say too, if things happen, things are going to happen early in the game. Christian McCaffrey, he fumbled early in the Super Bowl. Like, you have so much time to overcome that. So there were a couple, again, the turnovers early on by Baltimore and Lamar Jackson did not help their cause at all. But all right, we have time to right that wrong. And unfortunately, the timely manner in which Andrews had his hiccups were at points where it's just making it a little bit more difficult to be able to overcome what we're trying to do right now. And that was tough. That was tough to watch, especially for someone who's rooting for Lamar Jackson, because I know what the narrative is going to be. This is a guy, he's likely going to win his third MVP. Maybe they give it to Josh Allen, but I think it's going to be Lamar. And I think for all the good and great that he did throughout this season is going to be wiped away. And everyone's going to say, well, no, he can't win in the postseason. Or he did win last week, but he can't win back-to-back games in the postseason. And I hate that for him, because he played so hard, especially the second half.
Yeah, and especially since he had turnovers in the game too, because aside from those, he did play really well and he made a lot of plays. Fun game there to end divisional round of the playoffs. The conversation in the chat devolving into quarterback stuff. I do want to talk about quarterbacks, and my big takeaway as it pertains to quarterbacks, not necessarily Brock Purdy related, but anytime you bring up anything about a quarterback, especially amongst 49ers fans, there's a Brock Purdy tint, a Brock Purdy hue to the entire conversation. I want to talk about that. The other games from this weekend, and what is the power rankings for 49ers fans' rooting interests for the final 4 teams in the playoffs this season next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Growing your small business in 2025 comes down to how well you can hire. And let's face it, Better hires start with smarter insights. That's where LinkedIn comes in. With the strongest hiring data available, LinkedIn helps you identify the right candidates, giving you the confidence to make the best decisions for your business. We've used LinkedIn Jobs here on the network to great success, and small businesses are wearing so many hats, and LinkedIn knows this. Every hire is so crucial, and LinkedIn gets that they need to connect you with the best candidates and give you the data that you can't find anywhere else, and are constantly evolving and finding better ways to help people hire and make better hires and make the connections at LinkedIn that helps you find the right person for your job. In fact, 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helped them find high quality candidates. So hire smarter this year and find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks. It's playoff time, and if you're like me, you want to make the most of the final weeks of football action. There's not much football left. 3 more games this season to crown the champion, and that's where PrizePicks comes in. If you love football, you want a chance to win real money while watching the games, PrizePicks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. With PrizePicks, it's simple. You pick more or less on player stats like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds. And whether you're looking for a flex play to boost your payout or you want to cash out quickly, PrizePicks has got you covered. We're talking over 10 million members at PrizePicks and billions in winnings. It's clear that people are loving the platform. And if you've never played it, it's easy. You remember more or less on those player projections. For example, Saquon Barkley, he seems automatic to hit, whether it's rushing yards or more than one touchdown. And so that might still be a smart play next weekend as well. But find your own favorite plays at PrizePicks. And here's a special offer for Locked On listeners. Download the app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup at PrizePicks. Run your game. I think of all the games of the weekend, I think probably Eagles-Rams went the most as expected. So I don't know if I want to talk too much about that game, but it was also the game where I think there was enough difference in total talent, Croc. And this is where it ties into the quarterback's conversation, because I think of all the games in the weekend, and look, I think we call Lamar and Josh Allen a tie, but just about every other game in the playoffs, and certainly every other game this weekend besides Eagles and Rams, I think the team with the best quarterback won. And a lot of times the team with the best quarterback won big in almost every matchup of this playoffs. And the Eagles had so much more talent up front that they were able to bully around the Rams. And maybe you'd push back on Stafford being better than Jalen Hurts, but I would in one game today, like maybe looking down the road, Stafford's older, but I would take Stafford for sure as the better quarterback in that matchup. And that's the only one where the clear best quarterback, in my opinion, did not win the game, and that was just because they got beat so badly up front. Some of those holes that Saquon Barkley's running through, man. And even with some nice plays from the Rams, they made it a little bit interesting, but the Eagles are clearly a better football team top to bottom, even though they didn't have the better quarterback. But they have good enough quarterback play, and especially, with the running game and the way they run. And Jaden Daniels, man, like, how for real is he? Because as one listener put it this weekend to me, he said, "Oh no, the NFC has its own Patrick Mahomes now," talking about Jaden Daniels. And I'm like, whoa, hold on, man. Slow down a little bit. But I mean, this guy's doing crazy stuff right now. They blew out the Detroit Lions, Croc.
I think it was a terrific game for a few different reasons. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, I mean, he played excellent. He looked good. He looked calm, even when things weren't, 100% the most ideal situations. I mean, Detroit scored 21 points in the first half. Right. I mean, that defense of Washington was giving up points. And I think it also helped that Washington, I think, had a pick 6 in that game, interception return back. So, the defense for Washington stepped up when they needed it. And I think that's the part right there that needs to be highlighted the most with how Washington played. They were aggressive, going for it on 4th down and end up scoring a touchdown. We talk a lot about that, right? So against certain teams, especially when Dan Campbell's on the other side of the field, you have to be aggressive because given the same situation, he's going to be aggressive. So I really like that mindset from the Washington Commanders, and they had the right plays drawn up. And I think the quarterback did a great job of executing on those plays. But it was awesome to see Washington play like situational football and tighten down when they needed to tighten down. Like that's the big thing. Okay, you gave up 31 points. All right. But when you needed to stop, did you get to stop? And I think that they did a great job of giving themselves that cushion in the second half because they continued to keep their foot on the gas pedal. And yeah, that young quarterback, here's a big reason why. And I think for him, just the thing I was most impressed with was really just his poise. At no point did I think that Jaden Daniels was rattled. At no point did I think that the moment was too big for him. And the 49ers have had a quarterback play like that in the postseason, right? As a young guy, tough situation. The 49ers playing, Dallas Cowboys at home. And I don't think that game started out necessarily like great for Brock Purdy. And he threw some kind of errant passes, but he never let that shake his confidence or get him down. He kept slinging it. And later in the game, he made some key throws. I don't think it was like the most explosive game from Brock Purdy that we've seen, but again, just the timely manner throws that he made in that game. And I saw that from Jaden Daniels in this game where there was just this calmness to him and just the ability to make whatever play needed to be made when it needed to be made.
And the last game was the Chiefs that beat the Houston Texans 23-14. I was really rooting for D'Amico and that group, and it was a close game early. The Chiefs ended up kind of closing the door on them late. But man, how can you root for the Kansas City Chiefs? As we try to answer the question that I posed at the beginning, and like, what are the power rankings for 49ers fans? It's really hard. It's getting really, really hard to root for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, there's already the oversaturation. He's on every commercial, Kelsey and the Taylor Swift stuff. And I know people get, roll their eyes at that and get so tired of that stuff and just over coverage of a team that's won back-to-back Super Bowls. And, they beat the 49ers in one of those, and you don't want to see him three-peat. And as much as I think it's easy to hate the Eagles and be annoyed by Eagles fans and the mistreatment the Eagles fans gave 49ers fans in those games at their house, I think when you start doing the power rankings and putting them together and seeing Patrick Mahomes get the calls that he was getting and then try to flop and get an extra call, and it's just like it just like the roots go deep, I think, for 49ers fans already, and you see that and you're like, I want to see those guys go home, So I think the easy number 4 in the 49ers rooting interest power rankings has to be the Kansas City Chiefs, and judging by the chat, Croc, they agree 100%. Like, no, anyone but the Chiefs. ABTC is what the chat is saying right now.
I think there is this appreciation that I have for Kansas City just to always do whatever's necessary to win games. And I don't think they need the help of the refs, but they're definitely getting it. A couple of those roughing the passer flags, and I feel like, and this just could be me, I get on fans all the time for this, right? When bad things happen, it's like you guys notice that more than the things that are happening good on a consistent basis. I always talk to the fans about that. So I don't want to be this person that only recognizes the absurd calls that are in favor of Kansas City, but it seems like they just always happen for them. And then, the flopping, it makes it hard to root for them. I started not kind of rooting for Mahomes, but I had this newfound appreciation for just Mahomes. I always feel like he's like, man, I think this is the greatest quarterback I've ever seen. But watching the show Quarterbacks, I'm like, I think I kind of like Mahomes. Like, I like the way he goes about his business, the way he takes care of his body, the way he prepares, his competitiveness, the competitive spirit that he has. He's talking trash back to guys. There's a lot of things where I'm like, man, I want to hate this guy so much, but gosh, I think I like him. And then you watch a game like we did Saturday evening, and it's just like, nope, I hate them.
No. Not at all. You can't, dude. First of all, to get the calls they're getting, and for how many people even if it's tongue in cheek, you're talking about how these games are rigged and everyone wants the Chiefs to go, and then to see those bad calls and then him after that on top of it try to bait another bad call and flop and not go out of bounds. I mean, man, I can't imagine Ronnie Lott playing against that. And remember how he always tells the stories about how they would willingly take a 15-yard penalty if they needed to send a message. Not that era anymore. I don't want to see the guy get hurt, but someone needs to take a 15 on Patrick Mahomes and actually hit him.
Alice in the chat says the late QB slides need to stop. And I agree. I think that the late QB slides, I think you have to start penalizing the quarterbacks. I get it. You want to protect the guys, but I'm always I'm going to always make the person that is in the most control accountable for the outcome of something. That's not like victim blaming. I don't want it to come off as that, but you can slide whenever you want to slide.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose to try to get every inch, every yard, every whatever millimeter, then you should, and you get hit in the process of doing that, flag the quarterback, because you could have gotten down 4 yards prior to that. You could have gotten down before you were ever in any kind of harm's way. And quarterbacks continue to do this. They continue to toe that line of, am I going to get down? Am I going to get down? They're trying to get every inch that they can get. And one of the hardest things is when they're sprinting towards that first down marker, you see him. This is what happened to Trevor Lawrence, and everybody's getting on Azeez Al-Shaair. Oh, he led with his elbow. But I don't know that this guy's going to stop. He's running as hard as he can towards the first down marker. I'm running as hard as I can to stop him. He drops at the last second when I've already committed to throwing my body into him, hence kind of the, forearm hitting him and all that. But I've already committed to hitting this guy. And these things at the NFL level are happening so fast. This is not your little kid's Pop Warner where you can see everything happen in slow motion and there's a lot of time to respond. The NFL, I wish everybody could just be right there, especially at field level, and realize the speed of this game and how fast it happens. And for these quarterbacks to get away with these late slides when the defender has already committed to hitting them, I think it's ridiculous. And if they flag the quarterback for sliding late, I bet you would put an end to that. And you would have a lot less quarterbacks getting hurt.
Yeah. The rule should be, if you want to protect yourself, then protect yourself when you have time to protect yourself. If it's close, then those protections are gone.
Yeah.
Next, who's number one in the power rankings for 49ers fans? Who should we be rooting for to win the Super Bowl? And I think next week's games are going to be pretty easy for which teams we want to see win those games. I've got a clear number one, and I'll tell you why next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. That's right. They upped it to $300 in bonus bets for new customers right now. And all you got to do is play and win your first $5 bet. That's $300 extra to play with and keep the action going at FanDuel. The FanDuel app is super easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keep every game exciting. Tons of prop bets for every game. There's going to be a million props for the big game. There's going to be more and more NFL draft props as well. And of course, NBA and NHL and Major League Baseball right around the corner. Pitchers and catchers about to report next month as well. So whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add a little extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com, join today, and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. So the Chiefs are 4 in the power rankings, the rooting power rankings. Clearly 3 is the Philadelphia Eagles, because they're really easy to hate. If it wasn't for the Kansas City Chiefs being in the tournament, then the Eagles would be an easy one there. And so it comes down to the darlings for 49ers fans, which are the Commanders and the Bills. And clearly that would be the Super Bowl I'm rooting for is Commanders, Bills. The two California kid quarterbacks, right? Firebaugh, California, right down the road from where I grew up. Josh Allen, Southern California, I believe San Bernardino, right? Is that where Jaden Daniels came from as well? Two really likable quarterbacks and players. And I've really enjoyed watching those teams and really have been blown away and enjoyed watching the Commanders run this year. And obviously they've got some 49ers DNA, bringing over their head football guy from the San Francisco 49ers organization in Adam Peters. And so, I think that makes it a little bit easier to root for them as well. But for me, the clear number one is the Buffalo Bills. And it's because of what that listener said to me this weekend. And I never really thought about it that way. But if you're a 49ers fan, you don't want to have lost maybe the smartest guy in your organization, if it was actually Adam Peters. And even though, hey, the 49ers had a really good draft too, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. But and you also don't want the NFC version of Patrick Mahomes, because that's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to get to the Super Bowl if there's somebody that good. Is Jaden Daniels that good? I don't know, man. But that's why, to me, I think the Buffalo Bills are clearly number one. Then it's the Commanders number two, and a massive gap before the Eagles and another massive gap before the Kansas City Chiefs. That's my rooting interest power rankings for the San Francisco 49ers and the 49ers fans. So let me know if you agree.
Well, I'm just putting the top two there, and for a couple reasons. One, my father, God rest his soul, he was a Commanders fan or Redskins fan, and obviously he passed away. So I know he's still watching, paying attention to what's going on, and he's probably super excited to see the Washington Commanders and what they're doing and the opportunity that they have. But also just Jaden Daniels. I mean, this is a guy who I was watching at LSU, Arizona State. Watched a lot of film on him with Brandon Ayuk, and I'm like, man, he got a young quarterback. First of all, go back. I watched him in high school at the state championship game at Sacramento State. So watched him there. Watched him a lot at Arizona State. Watched him at LSU, and probably about 6 games into that last year at LSU, I'm like, nobody's talking about it. Got these tweets. The tweets are out there as well. I said nobody's talking about it, but Jaden Daniels has been the best player in college football. And he should. I should have put some money on it when I was saying that, because I'm pretty sure the odds were like absurd, but like he was just playing so well. But I think it was kind of in hindsight, or people weren't. It was kind of in the blind spot because that opening game loss to Florida State. People were kind of holding that against them. But to see how well he's playing and to be a young guy, and I mean, these are big dogs left in the postseason. It's Josh Allen, it's Patrick Mahomes, and then it's like, hey, and then it's me. And that's probably got to be a great feeling for Jaden Daniels. And the thing I love the most, I think 49ers get this with Brock Purdy as well, but his faith in the Lord. And I feel like when you're led by faith, like just you have a certain level of calmness and confidence, and we're seeing that with Jaden Daniels. We see that with Brock Purdy as well. So I'm excited to see what he does, and I'm all for everything that Jaden Daniels is representing right now.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's a fascinating story with Jaden Daniels too, because he was thought of as a big time guy and burst on the scene as a freshman at Arizona State. And then COVID hit, and I think he lost multiple people in his family during COVID as well. And then ended up transferring, and you kind of forgot about him. And I remember when he showed up at LSU, I didn't even realize he had transferred to LSU. It was kind of like, what happened to that guy at Arizona State? Because he was kind of a dude, and then he was gone. And I was like, oh, that's the LSU kid, is the dude from Arizona State like 4 years ago? Okay. And so, and obviously there's a lot more to his story. So, if anybody's interested, you go check it out. And he's been like doing a lot of virtual reality stuff, which has been really big for him. And he like goes through hundreds and hundreds of plays more every day that you can't get the actual reps in. But he can still get like more and more mental reps, and he does it at 1.7. When you listen to a podcast at like 2 times speed or 1.5 speed, and get through it quicker. He does that, but on VR, going through plays. And so when he gets on the field, it slows down for him, and it's pretty fascinating. And I'm all in on Jaden Daniels at this point. I remember halfway through the year, we got asked questions on the mailbag for Peacock and Williamson. It's like, hey, would you take back the number one pick? Because I think everyone said Caleb Williams, and I would have taken Caleb Williams number one if I was the Chicago Bears. In midseason, it's like, it's too early to tell. I know that Jaden Daniels playing better, but it's too early. But I would absolutely take Jaden Daniels now. Like I am convinced he's fun to watch. He's a really good player. And, Caleb Williams can still be a really good player too. But it's amazing how quickly they turn that thing around in Washington right now.
The tough thing with Caleb Williams is he's a different kind of dude. And there's just certain vibes that are just a little off. The talent is immense. And the talent that he displayed in college, I mean, it was next level. But there are certain ways that you're going to have to play at the NFL level to be successful. And some of it also is kind of how you carry yourself and your bond that you're able to create with your teammates. And there's weird vibes with Caleb Williams where I wonder behind the scenes how well the NFL locker room is taking to somebody like him, as opposed to Jaden Daniels. Like I bet his teammates love him.
Mm-hmm.
Now they didn't love him at Arizona State because I remember when he transferred from LSU, they rated his locker and was saying, "Oh, he was sorry anyways. He was trash anyways." They posted the video all on TikTok and all of that. But LSU seemed like they loved him, and he's a very high character guy. And from the moment he stepped on the scene with the Washington Commanders, between the head coach and the offensive coordinator, they've had nothing but rave reviews about it literally every step of the way. So to see him do that, he started out hot this season, kind of hit this lull a little bit in the middle of this season where it wasn't quite perfect. And you're thinking like, maybe he kind of hit that wall. Then he started to pick it up a little bit more towards the end. And now, I mean, come playoff time, big game against Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. And then to go into Detroit, that's the biggest thing. I mean, he's winning these games on the road as well. Like that raises the difficulty of this whole situation a lot, but he's handling it so well. Commanders got to be really excited.
So to wrap it up, my big takeaways from the divisional round weekend of football is that, man, the best quarterback you can get is immensely helpful. And seeing how many great quarterbacks there were in the tournament and seeing how difficult it is to beat a team that has the better quarterback, or it's not just a better quarterback if there's two mediocre quarterbacks going at it, but like a truly great quarterback, and how difficult that is. And what does it take to beat a team that has a better quarterback potentially than you, or more dynamic quarterback than you? Well, it's beat them up in the trenches. So, and that's not new information, Croc, right? Like that's kind of already been the thing we talked about this offseason, right? And so that's
real quick, talked about in the trenches
to build their team.
You talked about the trenches. The Rams in the trenches on that defensive side of the ball, they're only going to get better. That's scary. That's a scary defensive line.
And where their weakest is against the run on that young defensive line. And that's really where, they were able to get manhandled by the Philadelphia Eagles. And they still even made some plays. Jared Verse in the game there for the Rams in that game. And then my other takeaway was, the NFC side of the playoffs, watching those teams, I really think they're all playing for second place. Like whoever comes out of the AFC, that battle-tested team that comes out, you beaten either Mahomes or Allen or Lamar and CJ Stroud, and whoever comes out of that on top. I would put my mortgage on the AFC team winning the Super Bowl this year too. So those are my big takeaways this weekend.
I'm curious to see how Washington's run defense plays against the Philadelphia Eagles, because I think Washington can get them. And, you just have to continue to hope that the moment's not too big for Jaden Daniels playing all these games on the road. I wonder if that ever happened, right? A rookie quarterback wins his first 3 playoff games all on the road. That would be crazy. He doesn't have a crazy roster. Like, it's not a crazy team that he has.
Yeah.
It's like Terry McLaurin, a little bit of Austin Eckler. and he's making it work. The scary
thing is like, okay, it's a nice story, but let's calm down, Jaden Daniels. I don't want you to be that good, because I don't want you to be that problem in the NFC going forward either. So that's why Bill's number one in my 49ers interest rooting power rankings. Let us know what you think at BD Peacock, at Crocky209. Drop a line on the YouTube comments. Subscribe while you're there. Croc and I back tomorrow. We are scouting the mocks. We've got a Dane Brugler mock, Armand Mimbo, Walter Nolan. We've got a lot of names on the list that we're going to be doing scouting reports on as we get ready for the NFL draft. Will Campbell and Jalen Walker, James Pierce, Michael Williams, to name a few names, and we're going to hit them all. So stay tuned right here. Locked On 49ers.